Prioritizing feeling good will literally improve your chances of getting the internship. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Live Support with Odille for changing negative implicit childhood memories using the Remmert Method. We've created this forum for those who've watched our YouTube videos or read our book and need personal help with using the techniques to get changes, but aren't in a position to do one-to-one sessions at the moment. So if you're new to the Remmert Method, be sure to check out the links in the description of this post. And if you'd like to submit a question or you'd like me to work with you in this format, check the link for the details on that as well. Today we have, first on the list is Prachi. Prachi's question is, actually, I want an internship in a company in Canada, and the registration starts from October. And I'm trying my best, but is there anything else I can do to make sure I get it? So first of all, Prachi, thank you for reaching out for help with this and asking this question. And yes, there are a few things you can do to increase your chances. First step, bearing in mind you'll need full access to your cognitive thinking in order to do your best in preparing for the role as well as for how you perform during the registration. Your top priority is to keep the prefrontal cortex of your brain online most of the time so that you have access to your cognitive thinking. Since, as we know, stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol that are produced when we're feeling negative emotions cause blood to drain from the prefrontal cortex to the back of the brain, and that feel-good chemicals like endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin that are produced when we're feeling positive emotions allow blood to return to that part of the brain. It makes sense that, or it means that your top priority is spending as much time as possible feeling good. So make sure that you're practicing the little 2-minute brain chemistry exercise as much as you can throughout your day. And I'll put a link to that in the description of this video for those who need it. And be sure to choose your focus as much as possible. So whenever you find yourself feeling less than good, ask yourself, where am I putting my focus in this moment? Because wherever you're putting your focus determines how you're feeling. And then choose to focus on something that feels good. It's not always easy to do, but it is possible. Spend time listening to music you love, watching videos that make you laugh or that you find uplifting, doing physical exercise, even if it's just going for a short walk while listening to an uplifting audiobook or podcast or music you love. And keep reminding yourself that feeling good is about so much more than just feeling good. It's literally about keeping blood flowing to the cognitive thinking part of your brain so that you're able to think more clearly, strategize better, process information more efficiently, problem solve, be more creative, and communicate more effectively. Prioritizing feeling good will literally improve your chances of getting the internship. Make feeling good your top priority above all else. So that's the first step. Second step, ask yourself what you're most worried about. What's the worst case scenario? And then ask yourself, how does that feel? And then, of course, where in your childhood did you feel that same feeling? So remember, it may be a different topic, but it'll be the same feeling. And then, of course, change any negative childhood memories to the opposite, positive and empowering, and practice the new memories with the good feelings. And finally, step 3, whenever you think of the internship and the registration for it and everything that's involved in it, imagine giving that little you a hug and reassure her that she's safe and loved. And then play one of your new childhood memories that prove that. Another thing you can do is create a touchstone. I'll put a link to the information on touchstones in the description of this video. So create a touchstone for the end result, that end result that you want, and then use it frequently throughout your day. Just a little point I wanted to make here, a reminder to everyone that what you're aiming for is a whole new childhood, so that when you think of your childhood, it's fabulous and you've got all the good feelings. So you haven't missed a spot. There are no negative references at all in your childhood. So when you feel like, oh, I don't know what this could be in my childhood. In other words, you want to address a particular challenge now, and you're thinking, so where did I feel this in my childhood? I don't know. Just go for anything that's negative. So any negative experiences in your childhood, they all need to be changed to the opposite, positive, empowering. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that when you think that you've changed everything, so when you think, well, I don't know what it could be from my childhood because I've changed everything anyway, again, check, well, is there anything negative? Is there anything negative in my childhood? And if not, start using the bookmark memories, and I'll put a link to those in the description as well, and notice if there's any contradictions. Notice if there's anything that stops you from feeling those good feelings as you are reading and then practicing the bookmark memories. I hope that helps, but of course, let me know if you have any other questions or you need clarification on anything.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, so I have a question about this relationship that I was talking about a few weeks ago. Well, it kind of like ended a few days ago just because of the distance, right? But
Yes.
basically, I feel like I have questions that like don't really have an answer. Like things that keep happening again and again. So it was like why it happened, because there was no reason to be apart from the distance. But that's happened a few times. So yeah, I just need help with that basically, but I don't really know where to go.
All right. Yes, of course. So well done for asking that question. And I'm sorry that you're going through that, because I know that can feel quite intense as well. So first of all, actually, what I want to point out is it is perfectly natural and human to feel a sense of loss or sadness or that kind of thing, those feelings when something ends, when a relationship ends or someone passes away or that kind of thing. Or there are other changes, losing a job, that kind of thing. So it's acknowledging that's normal. So it's not that you shouldn't be feeling it or that you should try and stop feeling it. The first thing is acknowledging it and respecting those feelings and going, yes, it's natural for me to feel this. And then also looking ahead to where you want to feel completely self-sufficient and that you are in a position where you're able to appreciate the relationship you had, but that you're not feeling loss or longing or sadness or anything like that. So that's what you're aiming for, of course. But when you think of the fact that this relationship has ended and you're thinking of what it means or generally, what is in your head? Where's your mind going?
I think it's just like why it ended.
Why it ended?
Because I feel like, so the situation is, as I described before, he's moving to Australia to do his like PhD, which is fair, because if I was in the same situation, I had a dream, I would follow it regardless.
Yes.
But then I'm just thinking, I didn't know he was going to Australia 2 months ago, but he knew. So why did he get into it and then betray me like that? So that's, a sense of like betrayal, or like I didn't know, so I couldn't choose because I was too deep in when I found out.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so the meaning that your brain has given it is that he did this to betray you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's highly unlikely, right?
No, yeah.
So what do you think logically would have been the reason he didn't tell you in the beginning?
Well, okay, so this person doesn't know like what was going on, what was going to happen, and I always need to know what's going to happen. So initially it was he applied for this job in London and got the job, and then he was like, oh, now I'm turning down the job. Now I want to stay in education and do a PhD, but I want to do it in Australia. Okay. And then I thought, oh no, we'll be fine. And then I kind of like I was in denial like for like a month, and that's when I couldn't leave basically.
Yes. Okay, so the first piece here is recognizing that it wasn't him doing something to you. Right. So the reason that's important is so that you don't feel those kind of feelings. Someone is being horrible to me. It's recognizing that was the situation. And of course, his reasoning was, like you said, it's his dream, or he didn't know he was going to, or even if he had deliberately not told you, it would have been more likely that it was because he was worried you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him if he told you, if that was the case. And that is not necessarily, the right thing to do, and it's not ideal, but it's not It's not mean. It's not, with bad intentions. It's just he wanted to be in a relationship with you. So answering that logic and recognizing those things helps to bring down those stress chemicals and change that perception. So you feel betrayed. So what would you have preferred to have happened instead?
Well, for him to stay, but I know that's not reasonable. But then I just think I was just more annoyed that my brain is drawn to distance again and again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying, your insight here is that your brain picked up on the fact that this was going to be another situation
Of long
where
distance,
someone
or like
of long
moving
distance
away. Yeah.
Yes. And does that remind you of anything?
So yeah, a lot of it was just my parents, and it was a lot of anger, but I haven't really written a due justice on it. Yeah.
All right. Yes. So the fact that how old were you when your parents left you in India and went to the UK?
Like 5.
5. Yeah. So at 5 years old, that was your first long distance relationship, and it was a significant one.
Yeah.
Right. And there was you had no control, and you didn't know what was happening, right? You weren't consulted. You weren't told about it.
No.
You had no say in it. And now your brain is recreating that. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I don't know what's missing from it. Like
Okay.
What pieces are still to clear up.
All right. And the missing piece may be the due justice letter. So you mentioned that you haven't done a due justice to your parents for that particular event. I would say that's the place to start, especially if you're still experiencing anger in this relationship situation.
Okay.
Because in this situation now, as you're experiencing this relationship ending and everything that goes with it, the circumstances around it, your brain is referring to, of course, that situation with your parents, and then pumping stress chemicals into your system, creating that anger. Make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Very good. And then let's just check in on the references that are there now for your parents. So as you think of that time in your life, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you were 5 years old?
Yeah, so this was like a thing that came up was like looking at the stuff, like because we used to sleep on like the rooftop and looking at the stars and just crying, like where are my parents? And then my auntie would be like, oh, they're up in the sky, like they're flying, like they flew away, or something about flying and stuff.
Wow. Oh, okay. So have you ever addressed that? Have you ever changed that? Because I know we've changed the airport and that, but
I think I'm just ignoring everything that comes up. Yeah.
Sorry, you're just ignoring?
I'm just ignoring pieces that come up.
Yes.
Yeah, like the rest.
Yeah. And that's key. That's such a key moment. I mean, it's key that you're ignoring those pieces. And then that particular piece is, significant, of course. So let's change it, shall we? Okay. All right. So let's go to that moment. So you're on the rooftop, you're looking at the stars, your aunt is with you, and the little you is crying. As you think of that now, are there any negative emotions?
Yeah, devastation. It's like
devastating.
That cry that you can't stop. That
yes.
kind of,
Yeah. Very good, sweetheart. Okay. So, and about how strong are those emotions, 0 to 10?
Like 8.
8. Okay, good job. And what we're aiming for is the fact that the end final memory that I'd like to end up with is that it's you and your parents lying on the roof watching the stars. That's the end result we're aiming for. So let's go to your favorite color is white, if I remember correctly. Is that right? Yeah, I remembered. Very good. All right. And what's your subject that you're using?
I kind of flip between like the sea and like a baby.
Okay. And which would you prefer to use today?
A baby.
A baby. Fantastic. All right. So take a deep breath and go into your superpower state, however you normally do that. Imagine being surrounded by that beautiful white. And I know you're surrounded by a lot of people right now, but see if you can just focus on the white. You got that? And the feeling of the white. Good job, sweetheart. And now I want you to imagine the cutest baby you've ever seen. And imagine holding that baby in your arm and really focus in on what it is you love about babies. What's lovable about them? You got
Sounds
that?
chubby and soft. Yeah.
Ah, lovely. Very good. So you're feeling the chubby, soft baby and how wonderful that is, the connection that you have there. You got that? Very good. Good job. And now press pause on that. And let's go back to that rooftop. And so there's the little you looking up at the stars with your aunt, and the negative emotions were an 8. Where are they now?
They're 5.
5. Good job. All right, let's press pause on that. Let's go back to the white, surrounded by white, and think about what you love about white. Why white is your favorite color, what it is about white that's so nice for you. And see if you can feel the feeling of the white. And then hug that little baby again and notice how cute their face is, how soft and chubby they are, and how smooth their skin and how soft a baby's skin is, and how wonderful that is. You got that? Very good. Good job. And press pause on that. And let's go back to the rooftop. And the negative emotions were a 5. Where are they now?
They're gone.
They're gone. Good job, sweetheart. Very good. All right. So now let's look at the scene. So there's you looking up at the stars and there's your aunt. First of all, so we're going to put a stepping stone in here now, that your aunt is actually saying to you, you're saying, where are my parents? And your aunt is saying, they're up there, they're coming home. So they're actually flying home, not away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How would that feel first?
Exciting.
Exciting. That's what we want. She says, so they're coming, the airplane is up there, they're coming home, and we've got it, but now we must go and get ready to go to the airport to fetch them.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Very good. So that's perfect. That's what we're looking for, is excitement. Practice that one, that stepping stone, over and over. Now let's see if we can go on to the final memory. So the final memory is your parents are either side of you, and you're all lying on the rooftop looking up at the stars. And in fact, one of them is pointing out, your dad or your mum pointing out the different constellations. And it's a meteor shower. That's right. It's a meteor shower, and that's what you're there for. You're all there to watch the meteor shower. How would that feel? And you've got refreshments and things. You're making a little bit of a party out of it. How would that be?
Yeah, it's good, but I can't feel like the same excitement as them coming.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. You've got the stepping stone where you're with your aunt. Now they've just come home. So you've been to the airport, you've fetched them, and now you're on the roof. They're talking about their trip and they're giving you presents from England, the sort of souvenir things. And the event that is now happening on that roof is the happiness with your parents. How would that feel?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Good, good, good. Yay. So then you want to establish that, make it so that your brain is now connecting, that rooftop with that happy, exciting, those two happy, exciting events.
Yeah.
Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Good job. So when you think of that 5-year-old you and that whole time in your life, what's there now?
It feels better for sure. Like I
Good.
can already feel the difference, because like at
Good.
this point I'm like struggling to find what's missing.
Yes.
Like in terms of like my parents leaving, which is only good
Yes.
because that means most of it's cleared.
Absolutely.
So it feels
That is
much
great.
better, but I don't know what else, like what more.
Okay, so as you think of that time, if we just focus on the feelings of it, is it all good feelings or are there any negative feelings there?
It's neutral.
Okay, neutral. All right. So what do you think would be that little you? So let's put the little 5-year-old you in front of you. And I want you to ask her what she still needs.
Yeah, so I want my parents to always be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that feels like. And so therefore, like any attention and stuff, like something's not making sense to be able to create it, because I'm struggling to like feel it and then put it in, I think.
Yes. Okay. Very good. All right. So let's create a couple of scenes. So I know we created a memory of you going with them when they left. Is that still there? That's still established? Good, good. All right. So that's that. Now let's go to when they were leaving. So they're packing. Do you have a memory where you are packing as well? You're all packing. So the preparation is for all of you to go. Good. All right. And let's go back then a little further before the packing. Any memories that lead up to that moment when they were preparing to leave? Any other people talking about it or anything come up? And if not, that's okay.
Yeah, so it was when they didn't tell me they were leaving, but then we did a bit, they sit down and ask me, and then I say, no, I want you to stay here, and they do stay here. Yeah, so when they stay here, I can't feel them staying.
Ah.
Like, I can't feel their presence.
Yes. Okay, very good. Let's pretend they did stay. So if they had stayed, just kind of logically, what do you think life would have been like?
Amazing. With
amazing.
The new parents, it would be amazing. Yeah.
What sort of memories do you think you'd have now if that was the case, if it had worked out that way?
Of them like picking me up from school, like dropping me off, like cooking my lunch, attending my dance competition.
Very good. And do you have those memories?
I think I have them in the UK. My brain is a bit confused that it didn't happen there.
There you go. So let's create them in India.
Okay.
So it's the same school that you went to, but both your parents, they take you to school, they wake you up in the morning, they do breakfast, then they help you get ready for school, they take you to school, they're there waiting for you when you come out, they take you to your dance lessons, they're there for every performance.
Yeah.
How would that feel?
So I need to create the same thing, but in India. How does that work? Like, how do I know the location? Okay.
The thing is, you want both. Because the unconscious part of your brain doesn't use logic or reason. So it won't go, but hold on a minute, you were in a different country, right? Yeah. It's the conscious mind that does that. So the unconscious part of the brain will just treat these as separate pieces of data that all coexist. The way to anchor these things, in other words, link them to the particular country, would be whatever school you went to in England. It's that school there, first of all, for the English ones that your parents attend. So you can imagine being at whatever that school gate looks like, whatever activities you did at that school, then put your parents in all of those. And then in India, the same thing, the house in India, the school in India, which of course would look different, presumably, and have a different feeling about it, different atmosphere. Okay. And so connect those pieces of data with your parents being there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. And keep reminding yourself, these are separate pieces of data. They can coexist. They can all be there at the same time.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Yeah, that feels good. Yeah.
Good. Very good. So now the next thing we want to do. So you want to, of course, practice those memories, establish them. The rooftop one, as well as these other pieces that we're putting in now that to make sure that your parents were there all along. Then moving forward, when you think of this relationship, the ending of the relationship, the fact that he's going to Australia, all of that, I want you to immediately play those new memories of your parents being there all along. As you think of him or the relationship or Australia or whatever, immediately play a new memory of your parents waiting to pick you up from school, and they're smiling and they're going to take you out before you go home, those kinds of things. So build up that, and the excitement one on the rooftop.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So that you're linking all of those references with this current experience of this relationship. Okay. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Because I've been redirecting my focus, but then I'm just rehearsing Bookmark Memories because I was like, I don't know what else. And
that's good when you're not sure what else to do. Absolutely use the Bookmark Memories, and then this will be even better, even more effective, of course. So as you think of the relationship now, how do you feel?
I think I still need the due justice letter.
Yes, that's right. You're going to do that
will
first.
Release a lot of the anchor.
Very good. Okay, so do the due justice. That's your next priority. Due justice based on that, and then establish those new memories, the rooftop, and then the other bits and pieces. Sound good? Once you've done that, then just test it for yourself. So do all that first, and then think of the relationship and notice if there's any difference, etc. And then, work on that until you're able to think of that relationship and feel only appreciation and that was a good time. So remembering that there are plenty of things in our lives that are transient. We go and see a concert or a movie,
Yeah.
We don't expect it to last forever, right? Or we go on holiday and then afterwards you can think back on it and go, that was such a nice time. But you're not feeling like it should have lasted forever. And of course, relationships, we're looking for a long-term relationship, but see this one as part of your journey.
Yeah. I think a part of me is also like, this was really, really good, and it might not happen again for a while. But then I also realized that it was all me. It's all me.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Like right now, I can feel the same thing with or without him. I just need to remind myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good job, Swasti. That's perfect, sweetheart. And well done for reminding yourself of that. And it's true. That's the truth. Good job, you. And thank you so much for the questions.
Thank you.
Safe journey home.
Thank you.
And all the best for the exam tomorrow. We'll be thinking of you and sending love. Good job, sweetheart. You're very, very welcome. I have a question in the chat. So Jill says, hi, Odille and everyone. Odille, I'm starting to learn the tools. I'm now trying to build the color and object visualization into a daily exercise. Is that called the superpower state? So I'll answer that first. So the superpower in general is, a superpower state is a state of unconditional love. The beginner's exercise is the first level of the superpower state. We use the beginner's exercise, which is the color and hugging your subject. So that little brain chemistry exercise, that's the little beginner's exercise we use to develop the superpower. Everyone can find out more about the superpower in my book, You Have a Superpower, which is available on Amazon, but I'll also put a link to it in this description. And if anyone needs a free copy of it, just send me a message or an email and I'll email you the PDF version of that book, You Have a Superpower. And that takes you through the levels. So starting with that little brain chemistry exercise and then leveling up to the state of unconditional love, which is the power of unconditional love, which is physiological chemical state. Then Jill says, I find that I fall flat when trying to transport myself to the higher vibe, even when I'm in a neutral mood. When I've got a harsh mood happening, I can't reach it at all. I believe there's a way of sending love to yourself in spite of inability, etc. Could you elaborate? I'm particularly looking for a way to stick with this in the long run, despite the lackluster results so far. Many thanks in advance. So thank you very much, Jill, for this question. So a couple of things. First of all, the Superpower book will help. So send me an email or let me know your email address in a message or something, and I'll send you the PDF version of that. In brief, thinking of that process as physical exercise. So we tend to think of physical things, learning a physical skill or getting physically fit, all of that is physical. And then we think of emotions and thoughts as not physical. But the truth is that all of these things are physiological. So thoughts are connections between nerve cells in the neocortex of the brain. Emotions and feelings are changes in the body and organs caused by chemicals, and we feel those feelings, the physical feelings of that, and then the conscious mind interprets it as an emotion and then gives meaning to it and so on. So the point of saying all this is learning the superpower is the same as getting physically fit. Most of us have probably tried to get physically fit at some one point or another, and some of us succeed and others, don't, or it's in between somewhere. But certainly we know that we can't go running one day and then be fit, and even a few days, so if you run, for a week, you're still not ready for a marathon. And this is the same because you're making physical changes in your brain. It takes time. It doesn't take as long as it does to get physically fit, though. So practicing is when, like you said, you feel when you're in a harsh mood and you can't reach it at all, that's normal. So first of all, recognize and acknowledge for yourself that's absolutely normal. So what's happening there is it's like you've been running for a little bit and now you're in a position where you have to run a marathon. You're not ready for it. You don't have the stamina, your muscles aren't built, your muscles haven't developed enough, all of that, it's not prepared. In the same way, using that little brain chemistry exercise, when you're not triggered, when you're feeling fine, practicing it then is like doing running training when you don't have to run a marathon. So it's starting to build that. And every single time you do it, when you're not feeling negative, you're building that ability, that skill, that emotional stamina. Your brain and body are getting used to producing lower levels of stress chemicals and higher levels of feel-good chemicals, so that eventually, when you are in a harsh mood, you're able to create that change more easily and quicker. And part of that is catching the harsh mood before it gets too established. So because stress chemicals are stronger than feel-good chemicals, so adrenaline and cortisol, the effects of those are much stronger than the effects of endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin, because stress chemicals are for survival. They're designed to get and keep our attention on the danger. Once we've been feeling that for a while, it's very, very difficult to pull yourself out of it. Let's say, for example, for me, one of my experiences is seeing an email from someone that, and I know it's going to be a problem. And that was one of my things, that I'd see an email from a certain address and I'd feel this, this wave of, now, if I allowed that to, so in other words, you feel the emotional reaction and then the brain goes, oh, it's going to be, oh, why did I do that? And every single thought is pumping more and more stress chemicals into your system. Now, by the time I open that email, I'm already very triggered and I can't pull myself out of it. That would have been the situation. On the other hand, if I see the email, feel that emotion and stop right there and press pause and go, right, I'm not even going to think about it right now. I'm going to focus on something. So then I either do the brain chemistry exercise if I can. If not, I listen to music. I go for a walk, listening to an uplifting audiobook. I imagine hugging the little me. I watch something funny. Do whatever techniques will work in that moment to help bring those stress chemicals down. And then it's easier to get into that superpower state. And then I change my approach to the email. Part of developing that skill is learning what we call zero tolerance. And zero tolerance means nipping it in the bud, not pushing it away, but addressing it. So zero tolerance means as soon as I notice that I'm starting to feel not good in any way, I answer it. So depending on what it is, I can say, it's okay. It's just an email. It's all right. You're okay. Let's do something to change the chemistry. Or if I'm worried about, I've got to go and do some sort of event and I'm worried about it, then answering that, it's okay. Remember that the last time you did this, it's fine. And, so answering yourself the way you would a friend who was worried, and then going into the superpower state as you can, and so on. And then the final bit I want to share with you here is loving the fact that you can't feel it. Loving the fact you can't feel love. That means that when you can't do the superpower state, love the fact that you can't do it. It sounds like a contradiction, and you may not be able to feel that love, but have that intention. So again, you're taking control over your brain. You're choosing to love the fact that you can't feel the love, even though you can't, if you know what I mean. It can take a little time to get used to that. And so again, it just takes practice. But hopefully that helps to get you going anyway. Understanding that it's up and down. It really is up and down. No progress, including getting physically fit or learning a skill, no progress is a straight line. It's always up and down. There's, some days you'll be better at it than other days. And part of making that progress as smooth and quick as possible is recognizing that, expecting it. So knowing that, yes, this is one of those days, I'm just going to take it easy. And it's the allowing technique. When nothing else is working, so you've tried changing your focus, you've tried doing the little brain chemistry exercise, you've tried listening to music or going for a walk or whatever. So whatever you've tried, you still can't change that feeling. Then use the allowing technique. And what the allowing technique is, taking a moment to just be very still and notice the physical feeling of what you're feeling. So let's say I'm feeling anxious. Then I'm going to notice where in my body am I feeling anxiousness, the anxiety. How do I know I'm feeling anxious? And it may be a pressure in my chest, or I may be able to feel my heart rate beating faster. If I'm feeling upset, I may feel pressure or closure in my throat. So then bring your attention to the physical feeling, because what's happening with these emotions, the stress chemicals are creating physical sensations. The conscious mind is giving reason to them and then running away with that reason. Every moment, it's pumping more and more stress chemicals into the system, and it's just creating more and more substance to that state. So bringing your focus down to your attention, down to just the physical feeling, no meanings, no thoughts, just the physical feeling. One of the things that can help with this is if you put your hand on your leg and you notice the feeling of your hand on your leg, you notice how your leg feels to your hand and how your hand feels to your leg, and just really focus. And your mind may wander, just keep bringing it back gently to, so there's this and this. Yes, but I'll get to that later. But this hand on my leg, just keep doing that and notice the physical feeling, and then notice the physical feeling of whatever emotion you're feeling. And in addition to that, saying to yourself, it's okay. It's okay to feel this right now. It's just a physical feeling. It's just a sensation. So you say to yourself, it's just a sensation. It's okay to feel it right now. I'm not in physical danger right now. And it's okay for this to be here. And the reason for this is that the big part of the negative emotions, the experience of negative emotions, is that we're trying to make them stop. And when we're trying to make them stop, we're judging them and we're pumping more and more stress chemicals into the system, which is just, of course, amping it all up. Bringing it down to it's just a physical sensation right now. I'm not in physical danger right now. It's okay for this sensation to be here. It's okay. So just keep talking to yourself like that. And at some point, you'll notice that the sensation changes or moves in some way. And then you can slowly get yourself to the next step, which will be listening to some music or thinking about someone you love or taking a walk, the next thing, or doing the brain chemistry exercise. So I hope that's helpful. So Jill says, yes, wonderful answer. Thank you for being so thorough. You're very welcome. Needing something to latch onto to keep this for the long run. Love that last bit too. Focus on the physical and don't resist, allow. Good. I'm glad you like that. And she says, okay, I've got those 3 phases written down. If time, a question, what do you think of combining a quick workout with the brain chemistry exercise at the same time? Well, yeah, and that's an interesting question. And I would say, yep, it's worth doing. The superpower state is something that I developed that I am in most of the time. That's kind of my predominant state. When I do a workout, I'm already in that state. So I know it's possible to do because I do it. Absolutely. If you can do that, what I would say is see if you can get into do the brain chemistry exercise just before your workout and see how that goes. Absolutely. And the main thing is when you can't do it, it's also, like when you learn to ride a bicycle, try to ride and then you fall off. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that I fell off, so I need to get back on and keep going. And sometimes you won't want to get back on. Sometimes you're tired and you're fed up, and that's okay. Then you go, I'll try again tomorrow. And that's okay to do with this as well. All right. So the biggest thing here is being kind to yourself as well as you go. That's the way we learn the quickest and the most efficiently. All right. You're very welcome, Jill. I'm so glad that helps. And thank you very much for the question. All right, everyone. So I think that's it for this week. Oh, and I see Swasti said in the chat, thank you, Pamela, with a heart. I don't know if Pamela saw that. I mentioned it. All right. All right, everyone. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye now.